Hello, thank you for tuning in to Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Welcome to your news at noon. These are the top stories we're tracking. U.S. Oversight Committee hauls in Exxon and other oil companies to testify on climate misinformation. Collusion with Agriculture Ministry bids leads to unfair competition. Repeated retendering gives edge to preferred bidders and proves costly for others. Meanwhile, Essequibo businessman was shot in the chest. Postmortem reveals protest ends after police negotiate with protesters. Meanwhile, TNT natural gas deal cost taxpayers additional $200 million and now stuck with $100 million in compressors it's unable to sell. Stay tuned to stay informed.
Hello. Hi. Let me show you something lit. Get your free chats now with me. Tell me video and voice calls. Discover and games, and that's not all. Cash and prizes for all of us. It's exciting. It's fabulous. Translate, populate, locate, innovate, but shh. It's a secret. No need to keep it. You won't see me here again. 3, 2, 1. I'll see you in a bit. Download the app now for chat.
And now for the news in detail. Congressional Democrats are calling top executives at ExxonMobil and other oil giants to testify at a House hearing as lawmakers investigate what they say is a long-running industry-wide campaign to spread disinformation about the role of fossil fuels in causing global warming. The House Oversight Committee on Thursday requested that executives at ExxonMobil, BP, Chevron, and Shell testify at a hearing next month, along with leaders of the American Petroleum Institute, the oil industry's top lobbying group, and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Representative Ro Khanna has been focusing on Exxon after a senior lobbyist for the company was caught in a secret video bragging that Exxon had fought climate science through shadow groups and had targeted influential senators in an effort to weaken President Joe Biden's climate agenda, including a bipartisan infrastructure bill and a massive $3.5 trillion spending bill currently moving through Congress. In other news, the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, under the auspices of the Ministry of Agriculture, has in recent months repeatedly put out tenders inviting suppliers to provide a quantity of steel sheets for the budget agency under the ministry. The practice, however, is being frowned upon by several local contractors who are now alleging collusion on the part of the ministry, since the practice is not only unethical but tantamount to corruption and should be considered illegal. It was explained that each time the ministry puts out a tender for a contract, many of which run into the hundreds of millions or even billions, it would cost every person or company submitting a bid hundreds of thousands of dollars for each bid submitted. When the contract is open at NPTAB and retendered, at least one contractor who spoke to Kaieteur explained that it is tantamount to the state agencies providing insider information to their preferred bidders. And now let's tell you, an autopsy conducted Thursday on the remains of Essequibo businessman Orrin Boston revealed that he was shot to the chest and not to the arm, as was initially reported by the Guyana Police Force. 29-year-old Boston, a resident of Lot 22 Happy Street, Dartmouth Village, Essequibo Coast, was shot dead around 4 hours 40 on Wednesday while lying in bed by SWAT ranks. They had reportedly invaded his home that morning to conduct a search for prohibited items. The GPF had stated in a release that Boston was shot to his arm that morning following a confrontation between SWAT team ranks and Boston during the search. His relatives, however, refuted claims that there was a confrontation, and now a post-mortem examination on Boston's body is contradicting the initial GPF reports that he was shot to his arm. The autopsy stated on completion the cause of death was given as hemorrhage and shock due to gunshot injuries to the chest. A single warhead was removed from his body as well during the examination. And moving on, a new scandal has emerged at Trinidad and Tobago's state-owned National Gas Company Limited. This time the cost to taxpayers is almost $200 million, and the company has said it has learned its lesson from the debacle. The revelation comes on the heels of another scandal, where it spent well over $250 million on a failed attempt to save Atlantic LNG Train 1. and its board of directors asked the government and received protection from responsibility for the loss of taxpayers' dollars. At the center of this latest scandal, the NGC started a project in 2017 that included the design, procurement, construction, and commissioning of a compressor facility. Well into the project, the company discovered that there was no need for it after spending $197.5 million and subsequently stopped it. The result is a loss of the money, and the company is stuck with $100 million worth of compressors, which it has not been able to sell. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. This is your news at noon. We will return after the break. Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. A man who took a woman to a hotel was robbed of valuables and cash to the tune of $793,000 moments after checking in and leaving to purchase food. The matter was reported, and this led to 27-year-old Candace Thompson and her alleged accomplice, 20-year-old Juliana Bevany of Canterbury Walk, Betavawating, East Coast Demerara, being charged and placed before the court for the offence. The defendants appeared yesterday in the Georgetown Magistrates Courts before Magistrate Rondell Weaver. They denied the charge, which alleges that on Monday, September 13th, at Hatfield Street, Georgetown, they robbed Sherwin Jackson of 3 gold chains valued $448,000, 1 gold finger ring valued $160,000, 10 pennyweight raw gold valued $170,000, and $15,000 cash. The court heard that only 1 gold chain was recovered, but not in the defendant's possession. The women are to return to court on October 15th. Meanwhile, PNCR, Guyana's single largest opposition mass-based political party, has set its long-awaited 22nd Biennial Congress for later this year, to be held by the end of November 2021, but not later than December 13th. The decision was taken by the party's Central Executive Committee at its most recent meeting, held on Thursday last, and subsequently announced by party chairperson Valda Lawrence. Importantly, it was reported that the Congress, which will be for delegates only, will be utilizing a decentralized format and will be conducted over 1 day at Party Congress House in the respective regions, and not a single activity traditionally held at the party's headquarters, Congress Place, Sophia. And now let's tell you, a Hyde Park to Mary couple last Thursday died after the man reportedly jumped into a septic tank to save his wife. The dead couple has been identified as 42-year-old Camille Dwarka, a housewife, and her husband, 51-year-old Ramlal Madhu. The Guyana Police Force reported that Camille was going to the toilet when her niece Anita Joseph, of the same address, heard her screaming and went to her rescue. This led to the woman discovering her aunt in the waist of the septic tank. It was reported that Joseph then raised an alarm and Ramlal came to rescue her. He reportedly jumped into the septic tank to save his wife, but was unable to do so. Joseph told investigators that when she looked into the septic tank, she noticed that her aunt and Ramlal were motionless. Now let's tell you that the Ministry of Health reported yesterday that a 5-month-old baby girl from Region 1 is among the latest COVID-19 fatalities. The child is now listed as one of the country's youngest COVID-19 deaths. As a result of this, the country's COVID-19 death toll has moved to 706. The ministry announced that the other fatalities are that of a partially vaccinated 6 to 9-year-old man and a fully vaccinated 7 to 9-year-old man, both from Region 4. Further, 241 new cases were recorded, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 29,072. There are 35 patients in the ICU, 164 in institutional isolation, 3,347 in home isolation, and 18 in institutional isolation. To date, a total of 24,820 persons who tested positive for the virus have recovered. And with that, we've come to the end of today's news at noon. But just before we go, we will take a rundown of today's top stories and then the page 7 of the Kaieteur News that is dedicated to being blunt. U.S. Oversight Committee hauls in Exxon and other oil companies to testify on climate misinformation. Collusion with Agriculture Ministry bids leads to unfair competition. Repeated retendering gives edge to preferred bidders and proves costly for others. Meanwhile, Essequibo businessman was shot in the chest. PM reveals, and protest ends after police negotiate with protesters. Trinidad and Tobago natural gas deal cost taxpayers additional $200 million and now stuck with $100 million in compressors it's unable to sell. Meanwhile, couple dies in septic tank tragedy, and man who took woman to hotel leaves with 2 boxes of food after being robbed. Meanwhile, PNCR sets deadline for elections of new leaders. Ford, Norton among frontrunners, and Lawrence Harmon still undecided. Another set of outside people lying to Guyanese, but they are using local operators to do the deceiving. There is GTT dressing up its Blaze service and trying to mislead us dumb Guyanese that it is a new product, when it is the same, sometimes good, sometimes bad package of products. Why is it that everyone think we are suckers? Even our people are joining it with outsiders to cheat us, lie to us, and bring us down. They learn well from our crooked and devious politicians. It is this kind of anything goes mentality that reigns supreme in this country. God, please help Guyana.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's Newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226